What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Tyson, and we are here to talk about movies. That's right, we do movie reviews, movie trailer reactions. We cover major movie news on our Admit One podcast, and we do movie rankings. And today we are going to be doing a draft, and I am not alone. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. CJ Washington is back on the program. Mr. CJ Washington, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Tyson. How are you?
Doing good, getting through finally into fall. I'm excited for some cooler weather over here on the East Coast because it's too humid. So looking forward to it.
Too
But you're in the
hot. I
mid.
can't say that. I'm from Minnesota. I will never complain about it being too hot because we have bitter cold. Sometimes it feels like 9 months out of the year. So summer's gone, but fall is my favorite time of the year. I love the leaves and all the things changing.
Yes.
It makes for some great pictures, great videos. I love this time of year.
There we go. Perfect season. Perfect season. As my birthday is also in a month. But I'm just saying. Anyway.
Uh,
All right, guys. So, like I said, today we are going to be doing a draft of the best first movies in a trilogy or franchise. So, obviously, that means it can't be a sequel. It has to be at least 3 films or more. And we're going to be doing 7 rounds. I'm very excited about doing this. And if you guys like this sort of content, we do a lot of it here on the channel. We're going to do a lot of it more. So, please give us check us out, subscribe. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and I'd love to have you guys along for that journey. But I'm going to give the reins over to CJ as he's going to make the first pick in this draft of the best first movie in a trilogy or franchise. So, CJ, take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to go with number one. All of you all who saw the last episode I was on know that my favorite top 5 films, go check that episode out if you haven't seen it. But I'm going to go with Star Wars, and I'm going to go with episode 4, technically the first one to
I
come out
agree.
in the trilogy, technically the first one.
Hmm.
And that one is a fantastic film, obviously, kickstarted a whole new generation of blockbuster filmmaking. I'm going to go with this one, maybe not because of the quality of the film in terms of it's very old film,
Hmm.
and I think too that the second one is probably the best, but I'm going to go with this one because it's actually what it meant to Hollywood, what it meant to the kind of the filmmaking genre at that time, because a lot of movies were very dark, gritty. They were very much sad, kind of gritty films, but this one was hope and inspired people. It had heroes, kind of old fashioned sort of things that happen. Everyone knows about Star Wars at this point, and it became such a cultural icon. And if it wasn't for that movie doing what it did and kind of being the movie that it was, nothing else would have happened. Hollywood would have looked totally different. And so, yeah, I'm going with Star Wars: A New Hope as my number one
Okay.
draft pick.
All right. That one was on my list, but not the one I wanted right away. So I'm glad you didn't take this.
Okay.
Um, I haven't said much about my love of this franchise, but it is strong and it is real. My first round pick is going to be Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Hmm.
I I love this world that we were introduced in. Obviously, Tolkien wrote it beautifully, but I think Peter Jackson put it on screen in the most fantastic way possible. And the score in Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite in all of the other, well, I guess Hobbits include, so all the other Middle Earth films. But just the way that this really, I feel like it revised the fantasy genre in a time where it was kind of troped down, and it was 2000 when this film came out. It was just revolutionary,
Mhm.
from the visual effects that were used, and also mostly not visual effects, I should say, but actually a lot of the practical effects.
Mhm.
All of the orcs that we see, um, all real life people. I mean, fantastic job there on the production design team. And of course, the cast in here is brilliant. But this is the huge setup to the big epic trilogy that we all know, and I feel like the most part we all love. A lot of it is just stunning to me, even now when it's like 20 some years later, it still holds up, and it's one of the best trilogies, if not the best trilogy of all time. So I'm definitely picking that one first off the bat there. So
Mhm. Man,
that
that's
is my number.
fantastic. That was going to be my number 2 pick if you didn't take it. So, way to go. That's awesome. My number 2 overall pick. Okay, so we kind of got past the mainstream stuff. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, kind of everyone you're not going
Right.
to do a trilogy sort of rundown without those two things. But I'm going to go with some of the more niche ones now. Okay, my number 2 overall pick, the film that I think is the best one out of the 3. I'm going to go with Transformers, the original Transformers,
Okay.
2007. Yes, Transformers, fantastic film. This movie, yes, oh yes. Let me explain. So, the reason that this film I really like is because it was executive produced by Steven Spielberg, and you can really tell in this first film. The other ones kind of got away, became more and more Michael Bay as they went on.
Mhm.
Which I don't mind, by the way, because I do actually like Michael Bay as a director.
He gets a
But
lot of
what
hate. He gets a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But with this film, you can really tell sort of the discovery. It really turns into a disaster film, in terms of what is actually happening and kind of the weight and the seriousness of what this event kind of means, like these alien machines sort of coming to Earth. It sets up a really cool sort of environment and world that we're introduced to, and it's very grounded and real. It's not campy and cartoonish like everyone thought a Transformers movie might be. It's actually very grounded and real, and there's lots of humor in this film. There's lots of really really interesting kind of moments. The visual effects are still amazing. The way it's shot and composed is great. The way it's colored, the score is wonderful. Very underrated first film to kick off a trilogy, and of course, it kicked off a $1 billion franchise with the second and third ones coming out,
Yeah.
just creating so much money. So I'm gonna go with Transformers number 2 over.
I know it's my turn. I'm debating between 2 right now. Because I have a feeling that you might take one of them. It might not be your next pick, but you might take one of them down the line. I
Okay.
think I might have to risk it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I love love Robert Downey Jr. I think
Oh
he is
boy.
phenomenal.
Okay.
And no, I'm not going with. Oh, I can't even go with Sherlock Holmes. Has there been 3 of those? I don't know.
Nope. There's
That's
only
not
been
the one
two.
I'm going.
There's only been two. They've
Only
talked
been
about a
2?
third one for a long time, but it hasn't happened.
Okay, all right. Well,
And you
guys,
can't
I'm going
take
with Iron Man.
Tropic Thunder either.
Exactly. It's true, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, Iron Man is my pick. I mean, say what you will about the MCU nowadays, but MCU in 2008 looked worse right now. Everybody thought that it was going to fail, just like some of the Marvel films have in the past. This film comes out and transcends the comic book genre 100%.
Mhm.
Um, this movie is well made. It's well done. It still holds up now, and a lot of people still hail it as one of the best Marvel films to date. And that just shows the talent behind the camera of Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige, and obviously in front of the camera with Robert Downey Jr. totally embodying this role and really changing the face of pop culture. Um, period. I mean, he's blown it up, and he's well known now throughout the whole entire world because of how well he has done in this character of Tony Stark. And for me, Iron Man, it's probably still in my top 5 of the entire MCU. So I hold it really near and dear to my heart. Don't forget the cast in here either. I mean, you got Gwyneth Paltrow, you got Jeff Bridges. I mean, come on, you got Terrence Howard in here before he was switched out with Don Cheadle, and of course, you get the amazing Stan Lee cameo. Can't forget about Stanley. And there's a great featurette about Stanley really talking to Robert Downey Jr. about the importance of this character, and that it, I don't know, it just does something for me when I see that every single time because it speaks volumes to how much this film really means to people, but also, like I said, to the genre and frankly to Hollywood because it shook it up in the best way possible, I believe. And it is a say what you will about the comic book genre, but this is a well-made film and one that I will always be defending because I think nowadays when people are thinking we have comic book fatigue, even though that's not the case, it's just mediocre fatigue. Um, Forget the genius that goes into these movies, and you can see the best example of that in the original Iron Man. I mean, they just blew it out of the park for sure, and it's one of the best Marvel movies to date. So
Mhm.
that's why I
Absolutely.
have to take it for have to
Mhm.
take Iron Man number 2.
Yeah, the way you can always tell the importance of a film, I think, is you can ask, what would have happened if it didn't work? What would have
Right.
happened if it totally failed? And we may have never gotten the MCU, at least in the form that we got it, if
Hmm.
that movie didn't work, if they totally botched it. Maybe if they got somebody else like Tom Cruise or something like they were
Right.
thinking about getting, things might have been way different. So I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you there. That's a great pick. That was also on my list. So glad you got it. Okay, so I'm going to go on to another one, pivoting a little bit. I'm going to go with The Hunger Games, the first one, of course, The Hunger
Okay.
Games. Incredible film. I do think this is the best one. And that is largely because of how it's directed. It's a fantastically made film in terms of how grounded it is. Again, I'm a huge fan of these sort of big concept movies that seem really fantastical, and then they're made in such a way where they're taken very seriously and they're filmed in a very grounded, realistic way, as if we're really with the character. And that is totally embodied in this film, where you have a very high concept thing. It's sort of a post, I guess, apocalyptic, kind of 100 years in the future, North America. That is, has become totally obliterated. And you set up this, game where a bunch of kids go and kill each other in order to preserve peace or something. It's like there's 100 ways where you can mess that up, but they didn't. They actually nailed it. And, a lot of that is because of the source material and the way they shot it, the way they filmed it. It's very grounded, takes itself very seriously. Jennifer Lawrence was fantastic in that film. I still think that's some of her best work. She's doing crazy movies now, but, she's actually fantastic in that film, along with Liam Hemsworth, is a great supporting character. Just overall fantastic. And the rest of the franchise was very good too. And then they kind of expanded out sort of the scope of what is going on. As of course, the source material did. It turned into like a civil war. All these things happened. But this film was the one that started it and made it work in a really understandable and really accessible way for most people who have even never read the book. So I thought it's a very, very well done film.
Yeah, no, I get why you would pick that because, that was kind of the start of the whole book to movie. And
Mhm.
everybody tried to copy it, and I don't think anybody did it as well as Hunger Games did.
Right.
I'm actually with you saying that the first one's the best. I know a lot of people say it's Catching Fire, but to me, that first
Mhm.
Hunger Games, I rewatched it a couple months ago, and it
Mhm.
holds up very well. And yeah, Jennifer Lawrence is great in it, and I'm very excited about the prequel that's coming out in November. Hunger
Yes.
Games, what is it? Songbirds and Snakes, or it's a long title, way too long, but
Mhm.
it looks great. Viola Davis is in it; she's fantastic. But yeah, I'm very excited about that one because you can see the origin of Snow, and Snow is played so beautifully in these movies by Donald Sutherland. I think he's phenomenal.
Oh,
But yeah,
100%.
the first Hunger Games actually is a surprising pick. I didn't think about that one, but I can see
Mhm.
why you would pick it.
Right.
Um, all right, moving on to number 3 for me.
Okay.
This movie is one. So I watched this whole entire series over COVID, and I can't stop loving this film, and that is Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Mm.
I love this movie so much. I think it is the right amount of fun and adventure. I do. I think it's one of the best adventure movies out there. And first of all, the score by Hans Zimmer again is
Mhm.
fantastic. I love Hans Zimmer, and he did a fantastic job here with that. He
Mhm.
didn't do this, did he? He didn't do Pirates.
Hans Zimmer? He
No.
did do. Yes, he
Did
worked
he?
with
Okay.
another. It was
Okay.
sort of a team. It was sort of
Okay.
a team of composers. He was a part of that team. He's not the lead credited composer of the film.
Gotcha. Okay.
But in the subsequent films he is. So yes, he was part of the team that kind of put the whole score together.
Okay. Well, I apologize to the person who is the main composer. I
Yeah.
don't know your name, but great job. Anyway, but yeah, this is a great fun tale. I love the entire cast in here. I think they've done an amazing job. And I like the way that it still holds up to this day. Again, I watched this all over COVID, and this movie came out in 2003. And one of my friends who lives in LA went to the world premiere and showed me their like little pass credential that they had because they had it at Disneyland. And I think it's a great fun movie that everybody can enjoy. And it's one that's honestly I think it's kind of one of my favorite movies of all time, just because I can always put it on, I can always laugh, I can always fall in love with the adventure, and the sequel to it isn't bad either. They
Mhm.
do start to take a deep dive when you get further into the series, but the first two,
Mhm.
and specifically this first one, is
Mhm.
I think groundbreaking and really did also revive the I would say adventure genre in the right way, and I don't think there's been a better Disney live action film since this one. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl comes in at number 3 for me.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great pick. I really do like that one. I think I was thinking about that one, and I honestly think the second one is better. It fleshes out
Mm,
the world even more. There's more kind of fun and shenanigans, but I think the first one is just tighter packed and more focused than that second one. But I like the second one, so that's why that's a good pick, though. That's absolutely fantastic pick. I'm gonna go with another one that most people have probably seen. It's Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a fantastic film. I mean, if you see the visual effects in that film are the things that really captivated people. We don't really spend a lot of time anymore talking about visual effects and being like, "Whoa, man, those effects were awesome! Like, how did they do that?"
Mhm.
Because everyone can just be like, "Well, it was CG."
Right.
But back in that time, like to see dinosaurs sort of realized on screen with people, and also the practical effects too. Let's not forget about that. The way that they were able to really bring dinosaurs to life. I'm a sucker for
Right.
dinosaurs, man. I just love dinosaurs so
Mhm.
much. And the way they were able to bring dinosaurs to life in a true convincing way and do it extraordinarily well in this first film, Steven Spielberg at his best. John Williams, he did the score, I believe, as
He did.
well. John Williams, fantastic score, iconic stuff, things that we all know. Just a really great overall film that everyone can appreciate and everyone can turn on and sort of embrace. And it's like, yeah, dinosaurs, they're freaking awesome. So I'm a sucker for those. So I got to pick that one.
They are, yeah. I love that pick. It was on my list.
Mm-hmm.
People may be asking, why didn't you say it sooner? I don't
Mm-hmm.
love it as most people. I don't. I actually like the first Jurassic World. That was it, 2015, I believe, that Chris Pratt did.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one and Jurassic Park are the best ones in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But what you said about visual effects, that also changed the game. I mean, it was with that and Star Wars really
Yeah.
that came out. But like you said, the practical effects in this movie, if you look at the behind the scenes about anything of this stuff, it's
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Yeah.
So great pick on that. My number 4 is going to be one that a lot of people I don't think are going to have on their radar, but I think this trilogy is hyped up for the right reasons. The third one kind of lacked a little bit, but that is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Came out in 2011, starring James Franco,
Mm-hmm.
and I just love this movie ever since. I mean, I saw it in the theaters, and I think it's the best one. A lot of people say Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I disagree. There's something really fun about this film and the emotion I would say behind James Franco's character and Caesar, from Caesar being a baby and growing up and basically mothering him, I guess, for lack of a better term. I really love that connection that they have because it's real, it's genuine, and you can tell. I think that's played out beautifully. Well, how can I say this without Andy Serkis is phenomenal. We all know
Mm-hmm.
he's a phenomenal motion capture artist, I would say. Obviously Gollum in Lord of the Rings, but how he does Caesar here, again, look at the behind the scenes. It fantastic. And I think his performance, yes, his performance, because motion capture performance is underrated. The work that he does, and you can see the emotions in his eyes and his how he scrunches his nose. I mean, for me, knowing all that stuff and seeing that on screen, that just makes me appreciate and like the film a lot more because I can see how much care and time and dedication to the craft there is, and that always elevates the movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I hold this one so near and dear to my heart. I love the scene in San Francisco with the with the bridge, San Francisco Bay Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
That's or the Golden Gate Bridge. That's fantastic. I love that scene. I think it's so well done.
Yeah.
And when you hear Caesar say the words at the end of the movie, I think it's mind blowing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is amazing, underrated, I think actually, but that's my number 4.
Mhm. Yeah, Matt Reeves also did a great job directing that whole
Yes,
whole
he
kind of
did.
enterprise, and it really elevated his career. I think made him kind of burst onto the scene. They gave him the Batman series after that, or whatever they're going to do with this new iteration of Batman or whatever. So yeah, he did a wonderful job as well. Okay, let's see. Moving on. So we're getting towards the kind of the middle of the draft. This is when it gets a little harder. So I'm gonna take the reins. I'm gonna say my next one is gonna be the Chronicles of Narnia: The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yes,
Oh, okay.
2005. I'm trying to be niche. I'm trying to mix it up for you, Tyson. I'm trying to keep things interesting.
You're doing good. I might be
This,
going down the wrong rabbit hole, but you're
yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah.
great.
This one is definitely the best one in the first of its trilogy because they made 3 of these films. They made 3 Narnia films.
Mhm.
They made Chronicles of Narnia. They made Prince Caspian. They made Voyage of the Dawn Treader. This one is absolutely the best one. It's not only the best source material, which I think helps it out, but it's also just the best directed, the best filmed. Andrew Adams, very obscure director. I don't even think he's in Hollywood anymore. I think he's directing stage performances in different places. But he was absolutely a fantastic pick. They filmed, the kids were wonderful actors at the time. Of course, you know, it's very hard to pick good child actors and have them carry a whole film. They're, you know, absolute nobodies in terms of, you know, they're not recognizable names or anything. So it's a huge risk to spend a ton of money and bring in children who have no recognizability and then have them carry the whole film, which they did wonderfully. Liam Neeson as Aslan is absolutely fantastic. You know, when I get up to heaven and if God doesn't sound like Liam Neeson, I may be a little bit disappointed, but we'll see.
Oh yeah.
I probably won't be though. But I mean, absolutely wonderful. If you've seen this movie, it absolutely toasts a lot of other fantasy films that were coming out up to that point. This was around the same time as Harry Potter was coming out. I think this film is better than any of the Harry Potter films up to that point. This film is up there with Lord of the Rings, at least the first one. Of course, Lord of the Rings are a little bit darker, more mature. This one's a little bit lighter and kind of more hopeful. But I mean, again, like, it was on that level. And so I think this one absolutely blows the other ones out of the park. And absolutely great source material from C.S. Lewis, Andrew Adams, director, all the child actors. It was just an overall wonderful film.
Yeah, no, I really do like that first film. My favorite, actually, though, is the Prince Caspian one. I just like the battle scene in the castle there. I remember that as a kid.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I
Yeah, when
remember,
they close the gate on the
yeah,
rest of the troops that they have to leave behind, that tugs at your heart.
it does. But yeah, no, that's a great film. I remember trying to find Turkish Delight to make it, and I ended up doing it, and I'm like, that doesn't taste as good as I hope. But you know, I this movie does hold some memories for me. So, like you said, niche, and you're finding them. You are
Mhm.
definitely finding them in here. My number five, though, I am going to go with a huge action franchise that is never going to fail, I don't think. And this one does star Mr. Keanu Reeves, and that is the first John Wick film.
Oh.
I love this one. The first one actually is still my favorite. I love the world that we enter here, the Continental, the High Table, all of it. And of course, the other films obviously explain that lore. But this one is what revitalized Keanu Reeves' career, number one. And he's kind of had that revival. He's kind of been revived like twice in Hollywood, but you know. Anyway, but
That's
yeah,
very
no,
true.
this film is great. I love Winston. I think Winston and John Wick's relationship may be my favorite. Also the concierge, who was played by Lance Reddick, who sadly passed away, I believe, just before the release of the fourth one. His character was my favorite. And we obviously get introduced to all of them here. But this just destroyed the action genre. I think it blew it up, and we found out what can actually be done because this is non-stop action, non-stop world building. I think how you see the dog. Oh my gosh, the dog in this movie.
Mhm.
Yes, there's a dog in all the other ones, but the dog in this one is just, it's the most emotional, and you just want to destroy the people that harm that dog. And you are with Keanu Reeves until the end, and the end may not be in sight because I think there's a fifth one coming. But anyway, you see the fourth one, you know what I mean by that. But yeah, no, I this film is the best. I think it's the best with John Wick's character arc. I know, um, he's happy, his wife. Oh, that made me that had tears in my eyes. And then all of a sudden, I was screaming and pumping my fists at the end because of all the action that was happening. So it's definitely a whirlwind of emotions in this film, but I think it's a great action film and a great action franchise. So that's why I'm taking John Wick here.
Mhm. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful film. I mean, the way they do just, man, all the things, even on a director level in the DPs, like the way they're moving the camera, the way they're tracking the action. It's very easy to watch. It's much different than like a Jason Bourne, where
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to follow at times. So yeah, much better depiction of action in those films.
Hmm.
Okay, going back to the MCU, this is going to be probably my hottest take one, and it's going to be Thor. The first Thor is
Okay.
absolutely the best one. The other two, trash. The other three, trash.
I disagree.
Thor,
I disagree
Thor,
with Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the
okay.
best.
Thor, Ragnarok, overrated. Thor, Love and Thunder, trash. Thor, the Dark World's actually pretty okay, but it's just kind of mid. But the first one, the way that they were able to construct the world and make you care about everybody, how they played the dynamic between Loki and his brother. The plan that Loki had set up, the way it's revealed in that scene in the not the mausoleum, but that kind of where they hold the treasure, and Odin kind of talks to Loki about, okay, hey, it turns out you're you're an ice frost giant or whatever, and Loki just kind of explodes, and you really see their emotion. Tom Hiddleston, this is his best acting across all three all three of the films that he's involved in. I think this is absolutely his best acting job. He's the most interesting villain, even more so than Thanos, I would say, because Thanos is kind of more sort of cut, sort of more straightforward than Loki is. You really see Loki's turn, and you kind of understand a little bit. This is and also the fact that it's just a completely different film than the other MCU movies. And what I mean by that is it's a very Shakespearean type of almost Lord of the Rings-esque, but with Norse gods depicted in a way that we've never seen before. And they really leaned into this, take it seriously. These are Norse gods who really thinking of themselves highly. They think of themselves as royalty, as gods. And then as we progress through the franchise, especially the third one, we'd said, okay, let's get rid of all that. Let's just make Thor a quit master like Tony Stark, right, or like anybody else. Let's make him really funny and goofy and hip and with it. And that's just not Thor's character. That's not at all who he is. He's a Norse god. I mean, he's existed for thousands of years. That's who these characters are. And to pivot and to take away sort of the Lord of the Rings, the Shakespearean type of acting and wisdom and knowledge and sort of storytelling style, and completely betray that and go for just the stock quipster, Tony Stark or Star-Lord type of behavior and scripting. It really broke my heart. And so that's why I think leaning into the strengths of these characters in the first film was the correct decision, and absolutely makes this one the best of the Thor franchise. Not the whole MCU, but absolutely the best of the Thor franchise. Just a little side note too, the music in the first one, absolutely the best. The other one's very forgettable, but the music, I still turn it on, and it's absolutely some of the best motifs, leitmotifs, and themes that you'll ever see in the MCU. If they maintain that throughout the rest of the Thor franchise, I think it actually would have made a difference in communicating some of the emotion behind this character. But that's kind of a side note. But yes, that's my probably hottest take one. I will take Thor is the best, absolutely, out of all of the Thor movies, the first Thor.
Okay. Hot take. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong. Ragnarok is one of the best MCU movies in my opinion. I think it's fantastic. I get Thor. The Thor you picked is underrated. I would say. However, it's not the best Thor. Okay. Ragnarok. Thor needed to be revived in a way. He was boring. He was looked at as dull, and he just wasn't interesting to the main audience. I would say. I would say that a lot of the audiences were kind of disappointed with the character, especially because Thor: The Dark World is one of the worst Marvel movies. Period. Thor: Love and Thunder also is not that good either. But Thor Ragnarok is. I love the way that Taika and Chris Hemsworth, frankly, was tired of playing the character, and he wanted something new. And I think A, Kevin Feige saw that, and B, Kevin Feige knew that the universe needed a different type of Thor, because this one wasn't cutting it. And I think the Thor we see in Ragnarok and Infinity War are the best versions of the character. So I just frankly don't agree with what you're saying, and I think that it's blasphemy to say that the first film is better than Ragnarok. But I don't want to get into that because this is a different video. But
we could do a whole hour. We could do a whole hour on that, just breaking these things down. I mean, it must be. I mean, you picked Lord of the Rings too, Tyson. So I know you have an appreciation for this type of storytelling, this type of sort of. I keep going back to Shakespeare, but that's who these actors are. Like Tom Hiddleston, who played Odin again? A very
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. These are Shakespearean actors. Like, this is their strength, and to completely just sort of shutter that and say, whatever, let's just make it. Basically, what I see Ragnarok as making Thor like the other heroes, making Thor like all the rest of the heroes, and that's not what makes Thor good. What makes Thor good is that he's different than all the other ones. But anyway, so we could go on that for a long time, but we'll have to come back to this topic.
If you guys are interested in that, let me know, and I'll set that up. All right. Coming in at number 6, I'm going to go a route that I don't know if you thought I was going, but it is one of the best movies that I saw growing up, and that is Shrek. I'm taking Shrek.
Oh,
I love Shrek. It's fun. I do prefer Shrek 2 actually. But the
mhm.
first Shrek is pretty close up, and I think it is still one of the best I, movies that I saw as a kid. I don't know, kid movies, even though there's a lot of adult humor in it. But yeah, it's a great film. It really is. I mean, it's funny. It's one that I watch now. I'm like, oh my gosh, all these jokes just went over my head as a kid. So I like how they put that kind of humor in there for the adults watching it. But I love the voice cast here: Cameron Diaz, Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, of course, as Donkey is great. And it's just a classic. It really is. It's the first film that won the best animated feature award. 2000 was the year it was first introduced, and that was the year that Shrek came out. So yeah, it's a great franchise, and I love the first two films. I do think the third and the fourth are a step down, but then we have Puss in Boots movies that go back up. And after Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, it looks like a fifth Shrek is coming, and I'm all here for that. But yeah, I don't know. The first Shrek to me is great, and so is the second one. So that's why I'm picking Shrek right here at number 6.
That's actually pick. And fun fact, I've actually only seen the first Thor movie. I have not, or the first Shrek
Oh,
films. I have not seen the other two or three or however many there have been Shrek films. But that first one, I mean, absolutely fantastic, instant classic. I totally agree with you there.
hmm
Let's see. So we're on number 6 or 7.
you're on
What are we
7.
at?
You're on your last pick there, buddy.
Okay, I got to pick my last pick. And so I'm gonna go with the first Kung Fu Panda. First Kung
Okay,
Fu Panda. Going back, staying with DreamWorks.
same with Dreamer.
I think this one is great. Jack Black does a great job. This is when Jack Black was really huge. But to do a Kung Fu talking animal action movie at this time was super interesting and was definitely a chance in animated films. This is what I love most about animated films is you can take chances on concepts like this that might not work.
Yeah.
But it really does. And a lot of people say there's no original stories, there's no original sort of storytelling anymore. I disagree when it comes to animation. If you look at animation, there's always tons of great original concepts and motion pictures coming out all the time. And so this one is up there for me. The way they do the action, the way they do sort of the different characterizations of different things, the way the animals and the art, the artistic nature of this film is great. The way the characters look, behave, they're all animals. I'm thinking of like Oogway the turtle, of course, Po the panda, his master Shifu. All these characters look real. They look like real animals, but they also are great depictions of sort of characters. And so I really do love this type of storytelling. I think the second and third ones are the second and third one, just build off of this first one in a really cool way. And man, yeah, for my number 7 pick, it's going to be Kung Fu Panda. A lot of great memories with this film, watching it as a kid and just wanting to be Kung Fu everything. Yeah, just great memories with it.
Yeah, no, Kung Fu Panda is great. I love that film. I think
Mhm.
it's yeah, like you said, it's when Jack Black was hot, but it's great. Great. That one and the second one I think are actually pretty
Oh
good.
yeah.
All right, my last pick here. You know what's funny is I I guess I took Lord of the Rings from you, but other than that, I don't think we really overlapped on many.
Mm.
Which is cool, but I was kind of hoping you would mess me up a little bit because it'd be more fun to think off the cuff. Um, but I have 3 that I can choose from here. And I already went the Marvel route, so I don't
Mhm.
know if I wanna go that route again. I might
Pick the
switch it
niche
up.
route, man. Go with something obscure. Do
You know
it.
what? I'm gonna go to horror, and I'm going to pick the original Halloween. John
Oh.
Carpenter's Halloween.
Mhm.
I love Halloween. I think it's fantastic. It's my favorite horror movie.
Mhm.
Obviously Jamie Lee Curtis, it's how she got her start. And this one still holds up to me, even though it's like from 1976, I think. I don't know. But anyway, it holds up great. And I think that it's an instant classic. It really is. I think I know a lot of people who watch this film every single Halloween. And obviously the sequels haven't really been great. But this
Yeah.
first one is what I believe horror slash thrillers are, and a lot of movies have taken influence from this one because of how groundbreaking it was. It was made with nothing, no money at all. And it
Mhm.
was kind of an instant hit, but it's become more of a hit as the years gone on. And I just think the way Michael Myers is handled here, obviously he's the babysitter killer, but
Mhm.
he's threatening. He is scary. I remember trying to watch this movie. I was a little younger than I should have been, but I was with my parents while watching it, and I had to turn it off. And I was like falling asleep on my living room couch, and I woke up and I could see our laundry room, but the door was cracked. And I could have sworn I saw a white face, and I was so scared. I was like, "That's Michael Myers. Oh, I'm gonna die." Obviously I didn't. I lived tail to tail. But and then I think a few years after that, I went back and finished the film, and I've just loved it ever since. I mean, it's one of my best. You guys kind of cut off, but right here I have my Halloween poster on the backdrop there, because it's significant in the horror genre and it's significant in pop culture for sure, and it's just a fantastic film. So that's gonna do it for my draft. Halloween is my seventh and final pick.
Hmm.
So, CJ, what you think of the list here?
Let's see. So my final list comes out to A New Hope, Star Wars, Transformers, Hunger Games, Jurassic Park, Thor, and Kung Fu Panda. That's my roster. And
Awesome.
you know what? I would take that list of films any day. I think that's a pretty good top seven to start out a season, let's say. So how about you? What was your final pick?
Yeah, so my number one, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Number two, Iron Man. Number three, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Number four, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, 2011. Number five, John Wick. Number six, I had Shrek. And number seven was Halloween, the original Halloween, not the 2018 one, although that one's good, but not as great as the original. So yeah, I mean, guys, let us know down below in the comments who had the better list. All right. I want to know what you guys thought. I want to know, make it a little competition who won.
Mhm.
But ultimately these are good films on either of our lists. And I think CJ, you did a great job. And I hope you come back because I think it'd be fun to do some more of these kind of draft videos. Guys, let us know if this is some content you guys would enjoy. Helps me out a ton when I decide what to post here on the channel. And I really do value you guys' input because you're the ones that view it. So let me know kind of what you think of this content and what would you like to see from both CJ and I in the future. So with that, CJ, where can people find you and final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great time. I do like this list of films. Yeah, definitely let us know what else you'd like to see. If we break it down by category, maybe we can do another draft of like MCU films, or if everyone's tired of that, a draft of Star Wars or something like that, or a draft of all these other franchises that we got, or types of films, horror, not horror. I'm not much of a horror guy, but maybe action films, that would be good.
Mhm.
So yeah, let us know. This is really awesome to be a part of. So good job. And as football season kicks off, it's really fun to do a lot of these drafts. Pretty fun.
Exactly. That is true. Guys, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it and for getting us past the 300 subscriber mark here. I know it may seem small to some of you, but to me, it's great. I love this community growing. And like I said, if you're new here, please check us on out. We do a lot of content here and subscribe. We're on the way to 1,000 subscribers. I'd love to get there with your guys' support. And guys, that's going to do it for me today. My name's Tyson Honecker. That's Mr. CJ Washington. Until the next one, guys, we'll catch you then.